Hi everyone, this is Sheila Shaffie and welcome back to ProcessArc's channel where we provide you with digestible business insights. In today's video, I want to talk about process mapping and how we get this critical step done in the world of creative problem solving. Now, process maps, if done correctly, can really help identify improvement opportunities. It's a way to really understand across all the people that are involved in creating value, products or services within your organization, highlighting exactly how work gets done, why they do what they do, what it costs the business to deliver that product or service to the ultimate customer, and where we have opportunities for improvement. That's why I'm really a stickler when it comes to process mapping, because sometimes we don't give it enough credence. Now, in today's video, I want to highlight the key considerations around process mapping. Think of them as milestones, a checklist that I'm going to give you to make sure that you are doing this activity as optimally as possible. And then in the future videos, I will take each of those milestones and discuss them in further detail. You may have never even thought, hey, there's a checklist involved in process mapping. I just start documenting how I think work gets done in a business. But again, to do this right, there are specific steps involved. Step number one is identifying the objective or the intent around process mapping. By that I mean, are you going to process map just because you're trying to increase your understanding of how work gets done? Or is it because an issue has come up and you're trying to uncover its root cause? Or another consideration may be that you're trying to understand how the process is impacting and defining client experience. The point is that your objective or your intent essentially defines the lens and the perspective that you're going to start analyzing and documenting the process. I'm not saying that it should bias you in any way, but knowing what you're trying to get out of this analysis helps you make sure that you leave no stone unturned. The second element around process mapping is figuring out the boundaries, meaning where do you think the process really begins and when do you think the process comes to an end? Defining the boundaries correctly ensures that one, you don't scope out the analysis so narrowly that you miss the bigger picture and the other contributors to the process, and it also guards you against defining the boundaries so incredibly large that your analysis essentially never comes to an end and you're going to end up in analysis paralysis mode. The third consideration is the method and model. There are different ways you can process map. There are different techniques that you should have under consideration. Are you going to just document the process one step after another in a workflow diagram, or are you going to use swim lanes? There are different practices around problem solving, each with strengths and weaknesses. So knowing that you even have an option will help you make sure that, again, based on what you're trying to figure out, what your objective and intent is, you're using the most optimal way of process mapping. The fourth element is segmentation. And that's just bringing to light that depending on the products, your customers, services, location of your production or delivery of goods, you may be following a different set of processes, protocols, and procedures. So segmentation just brings to light that, again, not all processes are created equal. So you may have to consider segmentation as part of how you go about process mapping. So if you have two different products in your life insurance company, let's say life and disability, chances are they follow a very different set of process steps and decision points. So when it comes to process mapping, you should consider them separately. You should pull them apart, do one map for the life insurance product and another map for disability. The fifth element is around what is the data points or the data elements you want to collect. Make sure you think about those data elements before you start process mapping. Are you going to be measuring how long it takes between steps or within each step? Are you going to be looking for headcount numbers? Are you looking for volume? What are, again, the data elements that you need to think about collecting as you're documenting the process to help contextualize the opportunity or the problem for you? Now you get to step number 6, which is the actual process mapping. And within that process mapping, you have to, again, consider how you want to go about doing it. Are you going to do it by interviewing subject matter experts one-on-one, or are you going to just examine documentation that's available, whether it's in a Word document or in a graphical method, and use those documents to create something new for yourself? This is finally, imagine, after all the homework that I just gave you around segmentation, around understanding your intent, after you figure out all the other 5 steps before that, you will be finally ready to do the process mapping. And once the physical process mapping is done, you get to step number 7, which is the validation. At this point in time, essentially, you just want to make sure that whatever you've captured in terms of data and the actual sequence of events is accurate, because this is going to be the map. This is going to be the graphical representation that you are going to use, one, to get consensus from the organization at large in terms of how things work. 2, highlight opportunities in terms of what needs to get fixed or what you may be doing really, really well. That's it for today's video. I just wanted to give you guys the milestones involved in ensuring that you go about process mapping correctly. I will begin to take each one of these elements and provide you more details and guidelines to ensure that you go about defining the current flow of your business as optimally as possible. If you have any questions in the meantime or points of consideration, please don't forget to put them down in the comment section. I thank you for joining me today and look forward to seeing you again next week.